Hi guys, I'm Dr. Nash Jocic, bodybuilding champion and somebody who has spent over 40 years in bodybuilding and fitness industry. During that time I have competed 46 times, I managed to win 17 titles, and also I managed to publish 9 books on muscle growth, fat loss, bodybuilding, competitive bodybuilding, also nutrition. And during that time, I have also personally trained and supervised over 3,000 clients and helped them to get in the best shapes of their lives. So I hope that on my YouTube channel you will find a lot of advice that actually will help you to build muscle and burn fat at the same time and ultimately get into fantastic shape. So today I want to talk about the ever-burning issue in bodybuilding, and this is how much protein do we really need to build muscle. So now the recommendations for optimal muscle growth have changed over time, and I want to make a distinction before we start digging in between the average person who is not interested in bodybuilding, who is not interested in muscle growth, and obviously somebody who is 200 or maybe 250 pounds of lean muscle and who wants to get even bigger, because the requirements for these two different categories are obviously very different. Also, we have to pay attention to natural bodybuilding and also enhanced bodybuilding, because people who take steroids, they can absorb more, digest more and absorb more protein. So their requirements may be a bit higher, but nevertheless, the trend was in the past that we do not need as much protein as we think we do. The common belief was that all that was needed was about 1 gram of protein per kg of body weight. So let's say if you're 90 kgs, advice was that you only need 90 grams of proteins and the rest should be mainly carbs, maybe 4 or 5 times up to that protein intake. And even some of the bodybuilders, professional bodybuilders, try to convince us that actually this low amount of protein is really all that you need in order to build big muscles. But the trend has shifted, and now even science cannot stay neutral. And right now, the general recommendation for optimal muscle growth is 1.2 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So that will be 0.5 to 1.0 grams per pound of body weight. For example, if you're 90 kgs, that would amount to anywhere from 108 to 198 grams of protein per day. So obviously the advice is not necessarily very precise, because 1.2 to 2.2 is almost double in recommendations. So it's very, very open field in that we can't even get that right recommendation. I mean, what actually decides about how much protein what affects our protein need? Clearly, training intensity is the number one factor. So basically, people who train with high intensity need more protein, or also muscle mass. If you're a bodybuilder who is bigger, you probably need more protein per kg of body weight than somebody who is not as big as you. Then also goals. If you are in the off season, the protein intake may be different than if you are in the competitive period when you're preparing for the show. And also age and recovery. Interesting enough, as we age, yes, we need more protein, not less protein, more protein, because our ability to absorb protein is not the same as when we are younger. Therefore, people over 40, 50, 60 should eat more protein in order to satisfy the requirements that are obviously created through high-intensity workouts that they perform. Now, the best sources of protein for muscle growth are on the top of the list, according to me, will be whole eggs, then red meat, then chicken breast, obviously turkey breast, chicken legs, turkey legs, and also fish. And the last choice would be good quality protein powder. And I will explain why is that. So we need to make a distinction also between the two different periods, as I mentioned, during the year. If you are in the off season, your protein requirement will be relatively high, but you should not eat as much protein as before the competition. So before the competition, professional bodybuilders tend to eat more protein and less carbohydrates, while during the off season they tend to eat less protein, more carbohydrates. But it doesn't mean they're going to eat anything less than 2, maybe 3 grams of protein per kg during the off season, while during the preparation period that protein intake may increase, believe it or not, up to 6 grams per kg. I'm talking about professional bodybuilders who are obviously enhanced. So what are we to make out of all this? I mean, science on one side, very pedantic, very precise, politically correct, of course, and then the harsh reality on the other side. So maybe the best way to get a fuller picture of protein intake is to look at some of the best bodybuilders in the past and now and see how much protein they eat, and maybe we are going to get fuller impression of amount of protein that can be taken or maybe should be taken if you are a serious bodybuilder, and that will help you also determine how much you should take if you are not in that level. So let me start from somebody that I knew very well, bodybuilding legend Serge Nubret, who was known as Black Panther, one of the most aesthetically pleasing physiques, probably one of the best conditioned bodybuilder of all time, although he competed during Arnold's era in the 70s. And in 1975, he ended up second on Olympia in South Africa, second to Arnold. And I mean, he was in absolutely unbelievable shape, as everybody knows. I had a few videos on Serge Nubret, his training and diet. But what interests us today is how was somebody like that, somebody of such a magnitude when it comes to perfectionism in bodybuilding, how much protein did he eat? So Nubret was known to eat anywhere from 400 to 600 grams of protein per day. So bear in mind that Nubret was around 100 and few kgs during the off-season, and he competed only with 90 kgs. So his protein intake will surpass 6.5 grams before the show. A few months before the show, he would eat exclusively red meat, and he would eat a lot of it. And I was there, I've seen him eating, and I simply couldn't believe. I couldn't believe that people, what people have told me about him and what he said. And he would eat anywhere up to 6-7 pounds of horse meat a day. It's a lot of protein, it's a lot of meat. And what is also interesting is that Serge Nubret didn't eat many times, as most of the bodybuilders do, like 5-6 times a day. He would eat 2 or 3 times a day. So each meal would be 2-3 pounds of meat. He didn't eat much anything else. He would just drink water and eat meat. And the amount of obviously protein was staggering, over 600 grams per day. Fat would probably be around 100 grams, not more than that. And he was most of the time on 0 carbs. So this is just one example. Also, during the off-season, Nubret would eat whole eggs. He would eat 20-30 eggs a day. And also mainly red meat. Also, he would eat rice and beans during the off-season. And he would take no supplements whatsoever. He believed in real food during his peak days, competitive days. So this is Serge Nubret, up to 600 grams of protein per day. Let's have a look at another bodybuilder, like, for example, Jay Cutler. So Jay Cutler was eating also 400 or 500 grams of protein per day, but he would split meals in 6 to 8 meals, and each meal would be 80 to 100 grams even of protein per day. He was known to eat egg whites, about 150 egg whites a day. So imagine only in those 150 egg whites a day, you have 450 grams of protein. So again, we have another bodybuilder who was pushing those limits to 5, maybe 6 grams, again, per kg of body weight. Very similar to Serge Nubret. Then we have Ronnie Coleman. So let's see how much protein was Ronnie Coleman taking per day. Again, anywhere between 500 and 600 grams a day. Again, staggering amount of protein. So I'm talking about top bodybuilders, the best bodybuilders of all time. And these are all professional bodybuilders. They are all about 100, and Serge Nubret wasn't. He was less than 100. But Jay Cutler, Ronnie, and others, they're all around 115, 120 kgs. But you see that the amount of protein they were taking was always around 500-600 grams a day. None of them was taking less than that. And again, Ronnie Coleman, mainly chicken breast, egg whites, steak, fish, and whey protein. Another guy that I knew very well because I competed against him is Nasser El Sonbaty. Nasser was known to be one of the biggest bodybuilders ever seen. He overshadowed Dorian Yates in 1997 Olympia. Maybe he should have won that Olympia, but again, what interests us is that Nasser was eating up to 600 grams of protein per day. So once again, 600 grams. And I remember when I saw Nasser last time, that was when he came and he won a heavyweight title in Yugoslavia. This was the year where I didn't compete because I had a motorbike accident. But in the previous year, Nasser came. He was around 100 kgs. He competed in heavyweight, and then I beat him that year. But then in '89, Nasser came, and he was around 115. So 15 kgs up from 100. That was huge difference. So when I spoke to him about the reasons why he changed his physique dramatically, one of the key reasons he said was that he started eating more protein. He said to me, Nash, we don't eat enough protein. And I remember on the banquet after the show, he was sitting next to me, and I ordered some salad and a steak. Steaks in Serbia were quite big. And he ordered 2 steaks. So he said to me, you see, this is the difference. Just again to point out the high amount of protein per day. So Nasser, again, 500 to 600 grams of protein per day. So what are we to make out of this? When it comes to professional bodybuilding, bodybuilders are taking anywhere from 2 to 3 grams of protein per pound, or, as I said, between 5 and 6 grams per kg of body weight. So this is quite a lot. Is it possible to eat all this protein from food? Very difficult. Very few people can eat all this huge amount of protein only from food. And this is the reason why most of the professional bodybuilders are actually taking protein supplements, protein powders. So they take 2 to 3 shakes per day, anywhere from 60, 70 grams of protein to 150 grams of protein from protein powders per day. So if you take 150 grams of protein powder per day, then you have to eat another, let's say, 400 or 500 grams from food, and it's much easier to do this combination. So not everybody can eat. Serge Nubret didn't take any protein shakes, but Jay Cutler did, Ronnie Coleman did, Nasser did, many others did, simply because protein especially whey protein, is easily digestible. So you can put like 3 shakes in you can have 3 shakes a day, 60, 70 grams maybe each. So that's 180 to 210 grams of protein, which is easily absorbable, and especially if it's after your training session. That will help you to increase your daily protein requirement. Again, don't forget, I'm talking about professional bodybuilders and extremely advanced bodybuilders. So the protein intake is not 1.2 to 2.2, it's going up to 6 grams per day. And what about doubters who say that, well, taking that much protein is going to make you fat? I mean, it is very difficult for protein to turn into fat. Another fact that you need to understand is that protein is very difficult to digest, and 30% of energy that comes from protein actually goes into digestion. You burn those calories simply during the processes of digestion. So let's say if you take 600 grams of protein per day, that will amount to 2,400 calories. But 30% of these 2,400 calories, which will be somewhere around 720 calories, will be burned just for digesting protein itself. So protein obviously will sacrifice lots of those calories in order to get digested. So it's very difficult for protein to turn into fat, because protein is the most precious macronutrient in the body, and the body will be very reluctant to turn it into fat. Another thing that you should understand about protein is that if you eat mainly protein and lower carbohydrates, or no carbohydrates at all, just protein and fat, your liver will actually convert certain amount of protein into glucose during the process called gluconeogenesis. This is again very expensive process, but the body will only convert as much protein into glucose as you need for your glycogen stores, not more than that. So this is again remaining a big question about how much glycogen can you store, how much glycogen do you burn. We don't burn much glycogen during our training sessions, so maybe if I say 100-150 grams max per day, that would amount to 150 grams of carbohydrates, or maybe 150 grams of converted protein into glucose during the process of gluconeogenesis. Now, the thing with conversion of protein into glucose via gluconeogenesis is that body will convert as much as you need, but not more than that. So when you eat carbohydrates, let's say you eat 400 grams of carbohydrates, you convert 150 into glycogen, the rest 250 will go and be stored into fat. So this is the problem in carbohydrates, which a lot of bodybuilders understood, especially in the 70s, but more and more are doing it now. They're actually lowering carbohydrate intake, increasing the protein intake, and seeing dramatic results simply because of the expensive digestion of protein that actually burns itself up to 30%, and also that gluconeogenesis process in which protein is converted into glucose only as much as necessary. This is the key point. So it's very difficult for you to turn that protein into fat. And if you think 2,400 calories for the extreme amount of 600 grams of protein per day is not much calories, there is still room there for a bodybuilder maybe who is like 250, 60 pounds of body weight to put some extra carbohydrates or fat. So this is not too much calories as somebody may think. So another thing is to understand that, for decades we've been told that protein can only be absorbed up to 30 grams per meal, and the rest of it the body cannot absorb. This is absolute nonsense, because the body will always absorb everything. So imagine Serge Nubret eating 600 grams of protein per day in 3 meals. That means 200 grams of protein per meal. I've seen him eating 3 pounds or 4 pounds of meat in front of me, but he just eat meat and a bit of water, cold water, and that's it. So this is over 200 grams of protein, even more, per meal. And what do you get? You get the best built, shaped, and ripped physique ever. You will never come across that kind of conditioning. Just look at bodybuilders today. They, as Ronnie Coleman used to say, they still look like 4-6 weeks away from the show, because they are stuffing themselves with insulin, they are stuffing themselves with carbohydrates and all the other stories, and they end up soft, watery. Just imagine in 70s, people didn't have all this chemistry that they have now, and they looked much, much better. One of the main reasons for that was also high protein, low carbohydrate diet they all followed. Now, what are we to take from everything that I just said now? I will just repeat. The examples that I've given are clearly examples of professional bodybuilders, enhanced bodybuilders, people who take steroids, and they can push their protein intake up to 6 grams per kg, up to 600 grams per day, which is quite a lot. If you're not one of those, if you are just somebody who is taking a little bit of steroids, or maybe a natural bodybuilder, obviously that will be too much protein for you. You won't be able to eat that much, and you will probably not even need that much. So anywhere from maybe, I would say, 3 to 4 grams, if you can push to 4 grams, if you're a natural bodybuilder, or if you are, let's say, amateur bodybuilder who is taking a little bit of steroids, but not too much, anywhere from 3-4 grams per day may do the trick for you. Also, protein is known to give you that satiety. So when you eat a big protein meal, you will be all right for a few hours, for 3-4 hours maybe. And that will keep enough time between the meals for your body to digest, but also to use all other sources of energy for the digestion and other metabolic purposes, meaning you will be able to end up lean, because your protein and maybe some amount of fat in the protein will keep you satisfied for longer. So, as you know, if you're following my other videos, I'm the big advocate of eating more protein and less carbohydrates, not just for building muscle and burning fat, but also for the overall metabolic health, because from my own experience of my clients and many, many others that I advise worldwide, people react much better when they eat more protein and less carbohydrates, because they are keeping their insulin levels normal and they never have those spikes. So people who experiment with higher carbohydrate intake during the day, they always have these spikes of insulin, which actually is not very healthy. It's bringing them into the situation of underlying cause of most of chronic diseases, which is called hyperinsulinemia. So the constant production of insulin in that high amount is absolutely very bad for you, is detrimental for your health. And the best way to stay away from that and to keep your insulin level normal is to avoid carbohydrates, not eat much. Let's say if you're an active bodybuilder, I wouldn't advise more than 150 grams a day. That would sound very low for many, but if you add to those 150 grams maybe 300 or 400 grams of protein and maybe another 100 grams of fat, I think you will have the best mixture of macronutrients, not just for building muscle and staying lean year-round, but also for your metabolic health, for the huge benefits of keeping that insulin level down. As I said many, many times, you need to experiment, you need to try, and you need to find what works for you, because we are all different. Some people will react better if they take 4 grams of protein a day, maybe 1 to 2 grams of carbohydrates per kg. And some people will do better if they go 3 grams of protein per kg and maybe 3 grams of carbohydrates per day. While some people, also I would say minority, will do much better if they go higher carbohydrate intake, maybe 3 grams of protein and per kg, and maybe 5 to 6 grams of carbohydrates per kg. but this is minority. So I would advise you to experiment and find what works for you. Me personally, I eat 3 times a day, and I take a protein shake after my workout. And my protein intake is around 250, 300 grams a day. My fat intake is about 100 grams a day. And carbohydrates, I don't think I eat ever more than 100 grams a day. There are days when I don't eat carbohydrates at all. I have came across my diary recently, and I can see, let's say, 1995, 2 weeks before the competition, I was on 475 grams of protein a day. So I was always around 100 kgs. So my intake was around 4 to 5 grams of protein per day before the show. But I'm just giving you an example. So I'm not just talking from my knowledge based on scientific research, but also talk from my own experience. And right now I'm around 100 kgs, and my quite decent shape. My legs are always ripped, as you've seen in some of the videos that I filmed recently. And I'm always lean. I'm quite happy with my weight and my strength. And as I said, my diet is predominantly protein, fat, and a little bit of carbohydrates. When I do legs, for example, on the leg day and back day, I may go up to 150 grams of carbs, but for the rest of the days, rest of the week, 100 in my days off, probably I don't eat any carbs at all. But that's me, that's my story. So once again, make sure that you experiment and you find what works for you best. Now, for those who would like to know a little bit more in detail about training, nutrition, muscle growth, fat loss, I have published for you 7 ebooks, and they are all available on my website, nashfittraining.com. They cover a lot of ground, a lot of material is there for you to understand much more in detail how much protein, how much fat, alkaline, acidic foods, food allergies, food combination, and more, so many other topics covered in my books. And if you are obviously interested, please visit my website, again, nashfittraining.com, and you will find them all there. They will help you dramatically increase your knowledge, and with all this information that I provide there, will help you to achieve your goals much faster. Also on my website, you will find other services that I offer, like personal training, one-to-one for those who live in London, and also online personal training, personalized training and nutrition programs, as well as telephone consultations for people who are abroad. So I hope you have enjoyed this video and video podcast, and if you did, please like this video or podcast episode, and if you didn't subscribe please, because that obviously helps algorithms. And send me your comments, because they're very important. They help others understand, and help them gain more knowledge through your experience as well. And I will see you in the next video. Until then, I wish you all the best and take care of yourself.